I want to apologize for not getting the feedback to you yesterday, and just start here with Kevin's magazine cover. Kevin, this looks really good. I really love the font that you've chosen because it's a little bit different. Uh, there's some decorative qualities to it, but it's also a nice sans serif, very new, young looking, and I think it's a great choice for this large text. Um, Couple of things that I would consider if I were you. One is to strengthen your alignments. So, for example, this word travel is not aligned with anything, it's just kind of floating there. Same with food and entertainment. I think I would bring them all over and align them here with the bottom of this V. So bring travel over and have food closer to it. Because along with alignment difficulties, um, I think that you have a proximity problem. In other words, the relationship that's being communicated between your words is very disconnected. So travel, food, and entertainment, they have an alignment relationship, but they don't have a proximity relationship. They need to be closer together. Now, if you want to spread them out like that, then consider, tracking or something. But these big spaces in between, I don't know. I wouldn't track too much either because then you'll lose the relationship between your letters. So the way that this exploring is aligned with the V, I think that works great. Your alignment also gets thrown off by these bullet points. So I'd recommend that you not use these bullet points because this big space, what we see is the strong line. Instead of coming straight down here, it curves in, and that just destroys the unity and the strength of this line. I do like that everything's aligned here on the left. Again, with proximity, these two lines, Kevin Cabral in the Bay Area, they need to be closer together because right now it looks like Kevin Cabral is one thing and in the Bay Area is a second thing. They need more of a relationship. Same with these two lines and these two lines. And if this smaller copy goes with these two lines, then again, it needs to have less space between it. Barcode looks great. Photo looks great. Really just those couple of things. If these are hyphens up here, I would not use hyphens. I would either use spaces or period or something. But hyphens should only ever be used for hyphenating words like mother-in-law. There is a little bit of a tricky place right here where the text and the background image are hard to reconcile. In other words, the N isn't very readable because you've got a light area on the photo behind this light text. Not sure what you'd do about that, except maybe you could just bring the word San down with Francisco, which that would make more sense anyway for those to be together. So anyway, great job on this one. Here's the next one, if I can pull it up. This is Erica's. And Erica, this looks fantastic. I love the white background, very magazine looking. I like that you made a part of the photo go over this text, but under this text. This text up here looks a little bit pixelated, but we haven't done any vector graphics, so I can understand why it is that way. You might ask a lab assistant to help you vectorize this. It wouldn't be very hard, really. It would just be a few clicks with a pen tool in Adobe Illustrator. And then it would be crisp and clean and no pixels. In fact, we're seeing quite a bit of pixelization, anyway, in a lot of this text. So check your resolution. Also, I looked at some nylon magazine covers, and some of them I tried not to look at because they're not very appropriate. But anyway, I looked at a couple that were appropriate, and the word nylon actually goes all the way from the left edge to the right edge. So I'd fix that. And then this text on the magazine covers that I looked at was either full left aligned and really close to the edge, or it was on this side it was right aligned. And you've got kind of a creative, what would you call it, creative left alignment, where this is aligned and then this is aligned and this is aligned, and it kind of follows the shape of the model. And I'd encourage you to look at some magazine covers and see how they do that. Whoops, your text looks really good. The proximity looks really good. The closeness, I think I would just work on that alignment. And your colors, on the magazines that I looked at, they were really, really saturated, bright colors, yellows and oranges. And if they used a pink, it would be this bright pink, and this pink looked a little bit brighter. If you know anything about Photoshop, you might consider changing the color of your pants because how do I say it? It doesn't clash necessarily, but because it's close to these other pinks but not quite the same, it is a little bit of a clash. So you don't have to do that. You could just use this color. You know, it's actually more than one color. But to me, it looks like it has a little more orange or something in it. And I think I would use fewer different colors of pink. And I would definitely never center align this text. So if you look at any nylon magazine covers, they just don't center align text. It will strengthen the unity and the solidarity of these articles if you will just right align them. Okay, and nice contrast. Anyway, good job. This is a really good one. Okay, third one is, this one is Emma's. I'm going to have to resize the window just a little bit so we can see all of it. All right, Emma. Nice. That's a great photo of you and your friend. I like the title, The Knot, and I like that you put your heads in front of this text and then put some text above. Notice that this text doesn't feel organized. It doesn't feel unified. I almost don't want to read it because it kind of goes all over the place. You've used kind of a creative alignment here where you've got one right alignment here and then another right alignment here and another over here, kind of three lines. I think if you would align those alignments, that would really, really help. This photo is going to be tough to work with because you don't have much white space, you know, to play around with. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge. You might try some, I don't know, how do I say this, boxes? Because black text and white text, neither one of those will work. Black text, I guess, works probably better than white text, but in some of the dark areas in the photo, the black text even gets a little bit lost. So these two lines need to be brought closer together, and you might consider using, you know, your typography category doesn't seem right to me. Look at some magazines and see what kinds of fonts that they use. Who is your audience? This looks like kind of a script, but kind of an old style, transitional. It doesn't feel young enough for this particular magazine. And this sans serif is okay, but look at some other sans serif options and consider not putting page numbers. That just adds clutter to your cover. People who want to read this will go in and find that. You know, you might look at some magazines and see, but my guess is that if they do page numbers, they're going to be really small. And they probably wouldn't say PG. Notice this inconsistency, PG period. Spelling, so beginning, spelling is really important. So be sure you check and triple check the way that you spell things. Okay, this one is Brianna's, and Brianna's looks great. The colors seem so muted and what's the word? This almost looks like it's an old 70s magazine that aged a little bit and some of the color has faded. I like your strong alignments, your strong right here and your strong left alignment here. Consider some more, what's the word, contrast, so that in this title, 10 ways to make your photography look better, like make the number 10 really big. And then bring these lines closer. So the space between these lines, the leading, see what happens if you tighten that up just a little bit. This text might need to be darker because in these darker areas it doesn't read as well. Or you might need to put a little drop shadow behind it like you did on this. These lines could be closer to each other. These lines could be a little closer to each other with more contrast so that an inside look doesn't have the same size or weight, as Brianna Haraldson does. Nice job on this work here. Really like it. Great photo. It's got some great white space. I'm not sure what this thing is, but it looks cool. Is it associated with this article? If it is, then move them closer together. Otherwise, it's kind of out there on its own. So great job, Brianna. This is Jenna's. Jenna, great photo. This is tough what you did up here, but it looks really good. I like the name of your magazine. I noticed you center aligned this text down here with the barcode, and I would encourage you to either left or right align it. Same thing with this text. You center aligned this text. Don't center align. This text is also center aligned. The strong right alignment will be much better. It will help our eyes to find unity and organization. Center alignment is good for things that are, how do I say it? Kind of like weddings and poetry, but this isn't weddings and poetry. You want people to read these articles and you want to state strongly that these are good articles. I know it's a flower magazine and it should be soft, but honestly, try giving these a strong right alignment and see what happens. You might also try making these articles a bit bigger. I wonder about moving your photo to the left so that you have more space over here for this text. It doesn't need to be a lot, but I'd love to see some higher contrast, something that pulls me into your magazine, something in this text that really pops out. Right now, there's not enough contrast in these titles to really jump out at me. And I know that you maybe want it to be subdued, but make one thing bigger, okay? Is Jenna Jesperson the most important thing here? If so, then give Jenna Jesperson some more contrast, either size or something. Probably size would really help. I like the proximity. You've got things organized and grouped, and that's excellent. So beautiful job. Nice work on the magazine. Oh, and also moving the photo over would let some of this fluor word show better. Okay, this one is Nigel's. Nigel, this looks legitimate. Looks just like an outdoor photographer magazine. Your typography is great. That little drop shadow helps the text be very readable. You've got nice strong alignment. Yeah, I'd say things look great. Oh, hyphens. Don't use hyphens. unless you're hyphenating a word. So I would just get rid of those. If you need these three things to be separate, I'd separate those out with a little bit of space in between them. Because right now, if you don't have those hyphens, then this will read as one big block of text. So, yeah, excellent job. I really like this one. Again, it looks legitimate. Barcode, everything just looks great. All right, W Magazine. Nice job, India. This, I'm actually not very familiar with the W Magazine, so I don't know exactly what this style should be. Something about your typography doesn't feel quite right, but I'm not sure what it is. I'm wondering if it's because you used this font that is so close to the font of this W. If maybe it's the exact same font. I don't think so. See, look at this W down here and see how it's almost the same, but not quite the same as this W. And so what might be happening is that they're clashing, these two very similar fonts, because you have these thin places on this font, and same thing here, you've got these really thin places, and so they both might be moderns or transitionals, but they're slightly different, and so they clash with each other. I like that you have some contrast here and some contrast here and some contrast here. You've got a little bit of contrast on all of these. I wouldn't mind a little bit more. I think handpicked needs to be hyphenated. And try a little bit less leading between autumn and styles. A little bit less leading or space between India Rose and musician. Just let that come up. Try putting a barcode on this. There's something about it that doesn't quite feel like a magazine cover yet. But you're on the right track, so keep up the good work. Cool, Forbes magazine. Drew, if I were you, one thing that I would do is take a look at some Forbes magazines. Really study them. Okay, I think your photo could work perfect. It's a great photo. It's kind of the severe lighting and power tie, etc. But there's something, again, kind of like on India's, that doesn't feel like it's quite a magazine yet. A barcode might help, for example. Not center aligning. You know, in a circle, that's tough. You might have to center align, but be careful of the proximity here. When text gets too close to edges, it feels crowded and cramped and claustrophobic. I think we're going to need, you need some more contrast in within this title. Same thing, within this title, give me some contrast. Make the most important word or an interesting word stand out more. Same thing here, don't center align these two. Bring them a little bit closer to each other. These two lines could be a little closer to each other. The only contrast you have here is color, white versus yellow. Give me more contrast, different contrast. Like if you're going to do color, that's great, do color, but also do size. Size is probably the easiest way to make an obvious and powerful contrast. Check on a real Forbes magazine cover and see how big this word is. Maybe that's exactly how it is, but check it and see so we can make this feel just like a legitimate Forbes magazine cover. Okay, this is Jasmine's. Jasmine, I really like your magazine cover. I wish I could put my finger on this, but there are a couple that yours is on the right track, but kind of like Drew's and India's, they don't feel like they're quite there yet. There's something about them that isn't quite working. Now, some things are working. This text right here is working. You've got a great triple contrast. Explore is all caps, it's yellow, and it's big. And then the body, this copy is white and it's smaller, and it's not all caps. That works great. One thing that's a little tricky about it is that it's hard to read in this area because there's light and dark areas behind it. This center aligned Best Strips 2016 doesn't work very well. You gotta pick a non-center alignment. Let outside be even more, I don't know. It's got to be bigger, I think. We have to know that this is the name of the magazine. And the font looks kind of goofy, and it looks like your audience is cartoons or something. It doesn't look like a magazine that people who do this kind of a hike would really want to read. So your typography is so important. Consider taking the stroke or the outline off of this circle and find the white space on your photo, and that's where you want to put your text. You know, you don't have a whole lot, but like this snow would be a great place for text, and probably this cloud, and maybe over here. I wonder about a date or an issue or something in a barcode to help this feel more like a magazine. And again, your typography, really important. Look at some outside magazine. There's lots of outdoor magazines, and really study, become a student of those. What kinds of fonts do they use? How do you make yours look like theirs? Not that I want you to copy, but I do want you to try and capture what a magazine cover looks like. All right, Seth, what an awesome photo. And I think that this font looks pretty good for National Geographic. But this doesn't feel like a National Geographic. Be a student, become a student of National Geographic. What does this need to look like a legitimate thing? The photo's awesome. And you've got some nice space for articles. It looks like you didn't actually get this to the point where it was ready to be submitted for a draft. Technically, the specs say that a draft needs to be 90% completed. And you need to have 100% of the requirements done on it. So this doesn't actually qualify for draft quality. It's hard for me to give you feedback since you didn't do any other text besides National Geographic. I hope that makes sense. If you want good feedback, you really need to get your project further along than this. But again, the photo's gorgeous. It would be nice if you could bring some of these colors out a little bit, saturate them or intensify them just a little bit. But anyway, that's a Photoshop thing. We'll get to that later. All right, Kayla, this looks great. It looks like a magazine cover, especially the title here and the photo. You've got a great white space around your model. One thing that I definitely would change is the page numbering, okay, and the center aligning. Please look at some Life magazines and really study alignment, study typography, what kind of font do they use, do they show page numbers? If they do, are the page numbers the same size? Do they write P dot space 4, or do they write 4, or do they leave it off? You have a little bit of a contrast here between Kayla and becoming the ultimate Renaissance woman in size, but that needs to be more contrast. Something really needs to pop out and pull me in. The groupings need to be stronger. So these lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, these first 4 lines, they need to be grouped in a way that their relationship is obvious, that I can tell visually that these 4 lines go together and these 3 lines go together. So more space between the articles, and where you can, less space between the lines. You don't want the letters to feel crowded. You've done a nice job keeping that open. but they do need to feel like they're working together as a unit. Okay, alignment will help that. So you've got this kind of these soft, round, centered-ish lines. Don't do that. Really, really consider left or right alignment. And again, I'm just guessing because I haven't looked at Life magazines lately, but take a look at some and see what you see. See what they do to make it feel like a Life magazine. Okay, just a couple more. We're almost done. This is Alana's. Alana, it's a great photo, great model. Your text is really hard to read because it's dark on a dark background. I'm guessing that light text would work best in these dark areas. Dark text probably works best in this lighter area up here. But you're going to need light text everywhere else. And it's going to be hard in some places to make your text readable with this photo. I notice that you center aligned all of this text. That's not going to work. Please don't center align. You've got a stronger alignment here. It's a left alignment and a left alignment. I'd encourage you to look at some magazines and magazine covers and see what makes them look like magazine covers. This doesn't look like a magazine yet. I think part of it is your typography, contrast, alignment, proximity, the space between things. It doesn't feel organized. This doesn't quite feel like a title yet. What can you do to make the Rexburg magazine look and feel like a real magazine title? All right, but it's a good start. Again, great photo, great model. Andy, this looks really nice. Another Life magazine. Notice how different yours and Kayla's are. Maybe all Life magazines aren't the same. You did both get a sans serif here in your title. And that looks great. You've got some sans serifs going on here. That looks great. You do have some center alignment. Maybe they do that. I like that you've got contrast in your titles, in all of them. Some great white space. Nice focus in on the things that are the most important. But I guess I just encourage you to take a look at a Life magazine. I guess I'm going to need to do that before I grade the final one and see how they do it. So overall, you guys, for the first project with very little inside of classroom instruction, you've done awesome. I hope you feel good about these. I hope you enjoyed working on this project. I think that you've done a really, really good job. Now, yeah, that's it. I guess I'll see you in class on Thursday.